Hello, my friends. It's art date time. I'm so happy to see you. Well, I don't see you, but I'm imagining you. And I'm happy to be imagining you. This is gonna be the last scheduled art date for a while. Hi, Lynn. So glad you're here. What fun. So I thought I would take this last time together. Hi there. So nice to see you. So I thought I'd take this last art date and show you the journals that I've filled since sheltering in place. Oh, I'll miss you too, Lynn. We'll find some other ways to create art together. I know we will. I have a good feeling about it. So this was a journal that I made with the Voices Against Violence kids. And so I started it before shelter in place. So some of these early spreads were actually before. And I had these tabs on them. Now the thing about my journals is I don't move through them chronologically because I jump around. You know, if a page is wet, I leave it open and then I do something on in a different book. So I don't always date my pages. So I just know that roughly this one happened right before sheltering in place. That one happened maybe right at the beginning of sheltering in place. Yeah, I think that one was actually before sheltering in place. Let's see, this one. This was during sheltering in place. That I know, because I remember. Hi, Rill. Aww. Hi, Mom. Mom, you're calling me Rev. That's funny. I think I got to a page that I definitely did while sheltering in place. And I think all the others now that I'll show you all happened. Most of these pages happened, at least in part, during an art date. Remember those early days of sheltering in place when we did art together every afternoon or 5 days a week? That was when I started a lot of pages. I would often finish them at another time, of course. Because to me, they get more and more interesting the more layers I do. Oh, my text is backwards. Well, I think that's probably because I have the phone flipped around so that I can see what I'm showing you. I think it's maybe not a bad idea just because sometimes I have journaling on the pages, so I don't necessarily also want it to have all the language to be readily apparent what it is, just because I, don't know all of what's on every page. But I'll read out loud to you the pieces that I think are good to know what I actually said. Aww. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it, Lynn. Yeah, the art dates were important to me, to many of us. in those early days. I'm also just realizing how much of the work that I did in this time, I also had to do a lot of art around it just to keep myself present and engaged and not overwhelmed by all the changes that were happening. So a lot of these also started in meetings. I love this one. There's little bits of things like I was taking a training. This says Faith Trust Institute. I was taking a clergy boundary training course. Here's the label to some lung tea herbs that we take. And I just love seeing these little scraps and bits from our life at that time. Let me skip ahead here. I think I did a lot of work meetings in this one. So now I don't know that there was a clear next journal. I think it might have roughly gone in this order. But as I said, I jumped around a fair bit. I enjoyed making this cover. I did this cover in a really similar way to this cover, where I just took a bunch of the scraps that I had laying around and just collaged them all across the cover. But then this one I did a glaze over the top of kind of transparent red to bring it all together. Whereas this one I just kept it a little more disparate. So the glaze over the top is clear here. I like them in different ways. Oh yeah, this was a spread I started to make when I was making my junk journal ebook, the first one. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like them. I feel a little shy about them because they're so, they're rough, you know. But that's the time we've been in. This one is a little creepy, I find. All these eyes, and then this baby that looks like it's jumping out of a pea pod. I'm not even sure where this came from. These pods showed up in a lot of my pages for a while. And of course, the dots are always a theme. And swirls. And then I love ripping up pages that I've journaled on and collaging them in. You find the pod baby adorable? I find the baby creepy. Creepy baby. I'm glad you like him though. I did a lot of, it's interesting, I used to almost always have a focal point on a page. Like I would do a background kind of like this, and then after doing the backgrounds I'd have like a baby, like the baby back here, or some central focal point. And I've been noticing that most of my work since sheltering in place hasn't had a focal point in the same way. I think I've just needed to create spaces to be in and kind of have something that where I find some level of peace with the chaos. I think that's been a theme throughout these months of art making. Oh, I like this cosmic one. I've got music from our bulletins at church. This says Dad's 75th birthday, Voices Against Violence, team meeting, clergy gathering. I think I was, I was working on a curriculum I was writing. So I think each circle was something I was working on. And then I was just kind of getting some thoughts down about the various projects. Sometimes a page will just kind of help me hold the things I'm holding. I think that's what this page was. Oh, I like this one. It kind of looks like a necklace holding the page together. And then, of course, the dots are always satisfying. Yes, the finding peace with chaos. It's been so necessary. My mom writes, "You've developed such a distinct style, so beautiful. In the beginning, it's now years you've been JJing. Were you aware a style was forming or expressing?" No, I really wasn't. I mean, I've always just created what in the moment I need to see. And there's certainly like when I get drawn to other people's art, I often am like, ooh, I wish that my style was more like that. Like a little more subtle or something. But when I just sit down and create what I need to see, it does tend to be really bright colors and something kind of bold about it. So yeah, I didn't feel aware that I was developing a style. Sometimes I feel like, I mean, I used to do more watercolor and little sketches and drawings. And sometimes I think maybe I'll want to bring more of that style in as a layer in a junk journal. This one I think I ripped out a corner of the page so that I could peek through, and then I glued the corner here. I like to help both sides of a spread kind of belong to each other. Oh, you had trouble finding the page. I'm sorry, Dad. Oh. I'm glad you're here. These pages were actually pretty recent, I think. This was a journal that I thought was from way back at the beginning. I think I started with this one, and then I thought I moved to this one. These are all the ones I've filled. But I must have jumped around a fair amount. Like there might have been a blank page or something, couple of pages, because I think it was just a couple weeks ago that I came in and did these purple pages. Yeah, because I mentioned something about George Floyd here. So it definitely wasn't right at the beginning. Oh, I know what it was. I just last week or so, I decided I was gonna use up a lot of scraps that I had in a pile and then recycle whatever I didn't use. And I think I went back and filled in pages that I had either not finished or had blank pages in the middle of a journal, things like that. There's a little scrap. So that, I think, was journal number 2, roughly. And I like to put wax paper between the pages, especially if I'm not 100% sure it's completely dry. But once it is dry, I use baby powder. So you'll see some of the pages almost have a little bit of a dusty look. Sometimes I use wax paper if I don't want to mute the colors at all with the baby powder, but my hand now smells like baby powder from the pages. Yeah, this was definitely a trying to find beauty in the chaos page. I think this one was too. I was also playing here with bringing together colors I don't usually use together. I usually do like the green and the blue, or the warmer colors, the orange and the pink. And I think I was trying to see if I could reconcile them and make them work together on the same page. Oh, this one I did date, April 21st. So that one went way back. There's a lot going on in this page. The words say, and back to this, art in bed. When I was really struggling with my health a lot, I mostly did art in bed. And so this must have been a day when I was feeling sick and was back in bed doing art. I'm liking, I don't know if you can see, but there's this texture. This was the day when I was, oh, it reminds you of a magical city. That's sweet. This one was from the day that I used a knife, a plastic knife, to create some texture. So it's got these little ridges. I don't know if you can see it, but in person it's really satisfying. You can kind of just see all these little nooks and crannies. This spread, I guess I never finished. It's a container. Here's another one. Here's a tiny little kind of painting drawing of a girl looking at the moon. I take notes in here on things I've been working on, so it'll be interesting at some point to go through. Sometimes I like to read back and see what I can piece together about what I was thinking about at a given time. And I forget that sometimes I think something's a new idea, but then I'll see the idea as something I actually wrote about in bits and pieces way back when. I really like these teeny tiny little dots, these little circles. I think that's satisfying. I like how they filled in around the swirling pen. There's another container page. And this one I really like. I love mixing words with color. I tried to go through earlier and paperclip all the pages I wanted to show, so I didn't spend a lot of time flipping through the pages just with writing. This I can see right when I had the idea to start a White Parents for Racial Justice group in the BUSD. That I didn't realize it started that early, that idea. This is a page that needed some more layers, but I think I just never was interested enough to keep going. This one too, I think this one, I just put a bunch of scraps down and it never grabbed me enough it didn't keep my attention long enough to bring it to the aha, the ah yes, I mean. Oops. This one's kind of interesting. I went with this brown in contrast to the blue. And the quote here says, "All violence is an expression of state violence." That was something Pastor Michael McBride was saying, that anyway, I don't need to get into it, but it was an interesting idea. Wow, that's quite a contrast, that page to that one. All right, I think that was book 3, roughly. And this one, actually, I don't know. I think this one I also started at the beginning, but then I didn't. I think I started this one when this says A Junk Journal Is, and I think it was when I was creating an ebook about junk journaling, which would have been pretty early in Shelter in Place. Yeah, this was pretty early. But I probably didn't finish the journal till later. Aw, Loving You from Andrew and Dad. This was my piece of my birthday card from Andrew and Dad. know why, but I really like this page. Not entirely sure why. I mean, I think the colors work for me. I think the texture of the paint that's in the background is satisfying. I don't know if you can see the texture, but I used a plastic knife on this one. I like the depth to it. It feels like you really could move right into that page. And I like there's little bits of Neil's handwriting. I think this is from, yeah, these bits of a grocery list in his handwriting. And then like worksheets from Leah's school. This one looks like one I ordinarily would have gone back to add more to, because there's not a pen layer over the top. Yeah, and yet I'm liking the spaciousness in it. The amount of white space that's left feels pretty satisfying. Oh yeah, this was in the junk journaling ebook that I made. I did want to tell you guys that I'm going to be teaching a junk journaling for peace workshop on International Peace Day. My friend Lisa DiNardo from Peace Day Philadelphia asked me to teach a junk journaling workshop, and I'm going to link to it. I'm forgetting, I think it's September 19th. I'll be sure to double check the date and link to the registration page. It's a free workshop, and I'll just be doing junk journaling for a couple of hours, and I'd love to have some of my Bay Area folks with me in doing it. So I'll probably mention it a few different times. I'll create an event on Facebook too for it, but I'll put the link here when I post this video later. I like when I started putting green and turquoise together. And I love this really dark, what is it, phthalo blue, turquoise color. It's almost black. It's so blue. I love that. I think this combination is new to me in recent years. And I like seeing, I can tell this is some pieces of my work that I was developing, and I can see how it evolved. How my thinking evolved over these months is interesting. To me. So the theme, obviously, you've been with me and you've been creating art alongside me this for a lot of this time, and it's for me all about creating what I need to see next, and I'm seeking that the thing that gives me an ah, yes kind of experience. I try not to judge it with a different eye, but just really honestly feel for what gives me this, what feels vital, what feels alive. And that's been a really good lens for being in this time that we're in, when things feel so topsy-turvy. So I can really tell that doing this practice with you all and kind of just continuing to come back and keep asking, what does my body need to see? It really did help me build in my days more of what I needed to see in response to these times in our local community. So it is a sensibility that I've found translates well from the page to life. I really don't like this page. I just don't like it. And the word here is discomfort. And I think I just never got comfortable that day. But that's all right. This captures what it was. I almost like this page, but not quite. I think maybe it needs more pen. Something needs to pull part of it back out. Needs to be lifted off of itself a bit. There's another kind of scary looking face. But I do like her eyes. Wow. Oh, thank you, Dad. It's interesting. Mom was saying earlier that she feels like my work has a very distinctive style. I don't think I ever really thought of myself as having a style. This was a spread that I never finished. Maybe someday I'll come back to it. But I also kind of like just leaving some undone. Like they're kind of hinting toward some possibility that could have been. This is, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a person wearing a face mask. And I used some newspaper that had a cartoon of people wearing face masks and a Black Lives Matter sign. And this was from the same newspaper. It says, defund the police. Oh yeah, it was from Berkeley Times, right here. And then I guess this newsprint is part of the article. But I love that, little glimpses into the time we're in, or we're in. So this one, I kind of really like and I kind of hate. It's an interesting combination. It's an interesting combination to feel that way about a page. At first I was going to say I think it's the colors that I don't like, but then I do kind of like them. I like that it has almost like a burned quality. I wonder if I did this once the fires started. This may have been recently that I went back and did that. And then, of course, there's notes from some meeting I was in. And there's that one. Now this cover is also really fun. I liked it a lot. This A Junk Journal Is. This was actually the journal that I took a picture of when I made my ebook about junk journaling. But then later I added more layers to the cover. I think I never fully finished the back part. But these were little sketches I did. We have these little, a coffee maker that has these little coffee filters. And I did little sketches of people that I saw on a Zoom call. Although that nobody really looked like that. That's pretty much right out of my imagination, I think. But I do love these little faces peeking through this cover. And I love musical notes and a stamp from an envelope that arrived. It says 25th of July, 2020. And up here, some more musical notes. And on the back, I've got my address. Somebody sent me a card. This cover is definitely satisfying to me. And I also really like, I think that I tend to feel more complete if I do like collaging and painting, and then I think the final layer, when I feel most complete, it tends to include collaging with some paper that I've recycled and added some color or texture to. But then the final step that really brings it home for me is paint pen. Like paint pen or gel pen for these final finishing touches. Like look at this orange right here on top of that pink. I don't know how well you can see it. And these little pink doodles. That just feels like, ah, yes, to me. And these little squiggles. And the little faces peeking. Oh, yes. I will definitely share the ebook for junk journaling with you. I'll include it in a link connected to this when I share this video later. It was a book that I made just to give away, and I gave it away when I did some workshops for junk journaling. And I'm actually working on another one now. This was the beginning of the Junk Journal ebook. A Junk Journal Is. Oh, good. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Be happy to share it with you guys. This scene, like, couldn't decide if it wanted to be an underwater scene or a sky scene, so I think it became both. And there's some unfinished pages in here. I think this was supposed to be a self-portrait of a young me drawing in a journal. Wearing my overalls, though. This one I really like. It's got handwriting from my father-in-law from the Netherlands. I love his handwriting. And something about the way the colors come together I really like. This one I never finished because I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do on it next, but I really love it. I was creating texture with a stencil and putting some gel medium through the stencil. And I wasn't quite sure what else to do with the page. Doesn't quite feel done, but I also felt like I liked all the different parts of the page, and so I got reluctant to add anything else to it. I didn't want to cover any part of the page up. Like, I love this really dark corner here. And I think that the gel medium, I may have had some pigment mixed in it. So I think that I did a layer of, I think there was like a pale purple down first, and then I put the stencil down and I put some gel medium that had some blue paint mixed in it. I kind of squished it through the stencil, and then I pulled the stencil off. And then once it dried, I think I went back in with, this must have been China wax pencil. What do they call them? A China marker? I think that's how I did it. Anyway, I may want to come back and play around with this a little bit more. This might be a journal that, like, to have a little pocket with some things sticking out of it might be kind of fun, might feel good. Oh, and this is a page that I hated. Although I did do this one early on. This, I think I did a whole art date on working on a page when you hate the page. And I did bring it to a point that I felt satisfied. It did what I needed it to do. Even though the color or something still feels abrasive about it. I think it's the color combination. But it did do what I wanted it to do. And this was another one of these spreads, I think, because I've got different projects I was working on were in different circles. So I was probably just letting the page help me hold the various things I was working on. Oh yeah, I was asking the question, what are you full with? So these are the things I was full with. This I really like. Actually, I love this half of the page, and I think I never finished this half. But I also think I started to like the idea that it felt undone on this side. Yeah, this was early on, April 5th. I remember this one. Oh, the texture is so nice. You see it? Yeah, it feels really good. There's a lot going on this page. Texture-wise. And this one is too. This was a wrapper from, or a flyer about how to put on a face mask. It's got some language about COVID. And it's got some scraps from the junk journaling book I made. This one I never loved, but I'm just decided to move on and let it be. This one I did love. It says ideas. And this was a rubber stamp that I made out of a lino block of a light bulb going off or going on. Oh, and this was one where I was just drawing without looking. I was doing blind drawing, both of the skyline out the window and the scissors on my desk, and then my chihuahua, my goofy chihuahua. And this was like a paint bottle. I called it blind doodle drawing. This one I think I did well leading a workshop of some kind. I don't love that one, but I don't love it in just the right way. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it matched how I was feeling, I think. And sometimes you just gotta express it, even if it's not something that you cherish. There's things I like about this one. But I don't feel much need to linger there. Now this one I really like, and it got muddy. Got a little muddy in here, and I was gonna come back to it and figure out what I wanted to do. I think I need to pull something out, maybe do some paint pen and help some part of the page lift off. But this was part of the one layer of this is in the ebook that I made. It says, a junk journal is visual medicine, soul medicine, spirit, mind, and body medicine. And then after I was done with the ebook, I kept adding to the page, and I think it's not quite done yet. Now this page I did just recently, and I really like it. It feels just so bright and lively, and I did paint around the edges of these collage pieces so they pop in a way that feels satisfying to my eye. And I think the background was bright yellow, and then I did this layer, and then I collaged, and then I did this layer of a glaze, a translucent glaze that had a little green in it, and then before that was dry, I used the back of my paintbrush to create some texture, and you can see the yellow under painting, and I like that. I like the depth that creates and the way it draws your eye in. I also like, there's something that almost feels like a landscape about this. Oh, this one's nice too. I think I did baby powder on this one. Oh, this is another ebook I started, but then some of the pictures, I was trying to create a page that I took pictures of it as I built the page up, but then some of the pictures didn't come out, like the lighting didn't work or something, and so it didn't really work as a book because there was like this big gap in the middle. So I went from showing how I added the layers, and then, you know, I missed a bunch of layers, so it seemed like a big leap to suddenly being like this. But I do like and this says resilience is. It was going to be the next book, Junk Journaling is, and then Resilience is was going to be the next book. And maybe I'll go back and still do that. But I'm now working on another one called Ready to Begin. Oh, and this page I just really like. I think can tell I did a little too much baby powder. I like just there's texture and movement in the paint here, but the colors and the amount of space that it left feels satisfying to me. Like somehow I can exhale here. And I like, this is little notes I was taking while on the phone with somebody. And I think I liked the color of the pen and just wanted to keep doodling after the call. This looks like just a half spread. I like this a lot, actually. And I think that's as far as I got in this book. Let's see, I had a couple of others in this is a journal I'm working in right now. And it's mostly been just writing. But this, I think I made this page maybe when I was teaching a class, or I started it maybe during an art date. I kind of like the container feeling of the red part. It's like a basket. Oh, and I really like this one. The colors and the textures are satisfying. I think it needs more pen to really feel done. And this one I don't love, but I was trying to do a drawing of something related to our White Parents for Racial Equity group, and I wound up going a different direction with it, but I think that this could be an interesting page to, if I go back and journal with a lighter colored gel pen in the dark space, and or in the with a darker blue on top of this blue. So that might make it interesting to me to look at, but I don't know for sure. And I don't know if I'll do it. Sometimes I just like to leave a page undone. And this cover's not that interesting yet, but I'll probably do something to it before long. So my friends, I think that's what I got. This was really, these are the books. I think I have other pages in like more of a real sketchbook somewhere, but these were the junk journals that I did. A lot of them during art dates, and yeah, it really helped me. it was an anchor point for me in this uncertain time. And I feel pretty sure that showing up with you guys and just being creative repeatedly kept a through line so that I could keep my eye on what I needed to see, what I needed to feel, and keep both creating on the page and in my life and in my community in response to whatever came my way. So it's really was an incredibly valuable thing for me to get to do, and I really appreciate that you traveled with me for these months and did your own creating alongside me. And I think that we're just in a different time now, and I'll have a few different workshops and things. I've got one workshop coming up, as I told you, Junk Journaling for Peace, which I'll create a link for, and I'll put it in the comments section when I share this video. And I'll also share the ebook that way if I'm able to. So anyway, I imagine that I'll be making art with you guys in various ways that are just different than these regular art dates. Certainly I have some workshops. I'm thinking of starting a class at the end of maybe a 6-week introduction to the art and practice of junk journaling at the end of September. So I will be sure to post some details about that. And I'm pretty sure that this time will continue to unfold, and I just want to thank you for I'm so glad. Real thank you for being part of it, and Michelle, thank you. Oh, thanks, Dad. Well, you guys, thank you for creating with me and for your perseverance in these times. And we will be in touch with each other sometime soon. And in the meantime, keep feeding your inner artist. He or she or they know exactly what you need to see. All right, big hugs to you all. Sending love and healthy blessings. Bye-bye.